and I'm delighted to say that James Mercer is here. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Thank you for joining us. It's a really exciting time. We've got a new record, a new Shins album coming out in March. It's called Heartworms, and it's the first Shins album in almost 5 years. What made it the right time to go back into the studio?
We did the Broken Bells record
Of course,
after
yeah.
the last Shins thing. I don't know. It took a second. We had a baby. We have a 2-year-old now.
Congratulations.
I started working on an app, on a collage app called Pasted. I have to plug.
Oh, man.
It's really cool. So I've been doing all kinds of things.
A collage app?
Collage app, yeah.
Does that come from a real life love of collaging, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a bit. But the apps that are out there for collage on your phone put everything into kind of a grid.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And this does like organic, and it has this facial recognition and stuff, and it cuts out your faces and stuff.
Oh,
yeah,
that sounds
it's fun.
good. Wow, how exciting. Gosh, well, I mean, a very busy time. And of course, we know all about Broken Bells, and I might ask you a little bit more about that later. But tell me a bit about the album title, because it's an intriguing one. Where does it come from?
It was a lyric in one of the songs. I was writing a song about a guy who was in love with someone who wasn't in love with him. The premise was that basically she's too good for you, buddy. It's just not going to happen. And so he wants to. He has that feeling where you feel almost infected by this, disease of being in love with somebody you shouldn't be in love with. Mm-hmm. And so I was looking for some word that kind of expressed that, and the word Heartworms popped in, and then I remembered the band that in the 90s. There was a band called Heartworms for a second in the 90s. Yeah, it was an Archie Moore project.
Okay. So
I felt really kind of guilty, like, oh, I don't want to bite his whole thing. But he didn't. He was like, I forgot about that. Because he had done so many things.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so he was cool with it.
Did I?
Yeah.
Wow.
Was that me? But he turned out to be a Shins fan, and so he was really cool.
Fantastic. I mean, it's an appropriate title as well, because I think, we all know about earworms, that kind of great German word, the Heartworm, which has then kind of made it into English. And sometimes a song can go a bit further, I think, as well, and get lodged somewhere a little bit deeper. So I was wondering whether it might be a bit of that. You were self-producing as well, all except one track, which I know you worked on with Richard Swift, I think. Yeah. So, and that was for the first time in a little while as well, in terms of Shins stuff.
I guess, I've always spent a lot of time alone in the studio with the records, excluding Port of Morrow, where I really partnered for the first time with a proper producer, Greg Kirsten, who did an amazing job and is all over the record. And so I wanted to get back into just that. I had the time, actually. I had the time to do it,
Yeah.
I wasn't really under any constraints time-wise, and I don't know, I enjoy it, those hours alone, just sort of messing around.
Tinkering.
It's where I come up with the weird, quirky sort of things that I think people like about Shins records.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned Broken Bells. I did notice that there are some great kind of synth touches and on this record, and I wondered whether that was kind of,
totally.
Coming off the back of what you've been working on.
I think so. I mean, I think I just kind of gained an appreciation for that, the weird textures that like vintage synths can add. And I didn't know anything about vintage synthesizers, but working with Brian kind of taught me.
Exactly. I would imagine you have access to.
He has countless vintage pieces of equipment, so you can kind of just run around and play with toys all day. And so I bought a couple of my favorite ones.
Did you pick any? I was going to say, did you pick up any kind of favorites? What's in the mix there?
There's a thing called the Korg Micro Preset that is like, it was kind of a consumer model synthesizer, sounded sort of like a Moog.
Yes.
But it was easier to play, and it just has these quirky, weird
They're
sounds.
quite little, right? Yeah, I've seen them, I know them. I mean, you think you can't go too nerdy for six. People out there are going to be like, that particular kind of Korg. Excited. You could talk about the Octagon if you want to bring that
They're
in.
fun and they're sturdy. It's cool to have in the shop,
Absolutely. Well, you've got an acoustic session for us now, so just you and a guitar, and you're going to play a couple of tracks. Is it right that you're going to do the next single first?
Yeah, okay. Name for You.
Okay, so, fabulous. Well, I'd love to hear
without all the bells and whistles.
Let's hear it.
Okay, cool.
for You. That's going to be the next Shin single. James, I read that was inspired by your daughters. Is that true?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I've got 3 little girls now, so I don't know. I wanted to write a song of encouragement, and I guess there are moments when you worry about the experiences they might have as they're growing up and stuff. So that was kind of the inspiration for that.
It sounds like, the new record, which I just got the chance to hear for the first time this morning, but, lyrically, it does sound like a very kind of diverse mix of perspectives and it's a very kind of lyrically rich mix.
Yeah, some of it's just like fictional things, and some of it's sort of more personal.
And I mean, what's your writing process like? How, you describe the studio process as kind of quite relaxed and, just enjoyably tinkering, like away in a workshop. What's the writing bit like, or are they enmeshed together?
Well, they do eventually get kind of blended together. I start out just sort of fiddling with the guitar and trying to find a melody that is interesting with a chord progression that's hopefully interesting. And then I take those little ideas and I, figure out a tempo and I record them. I've started looping things, and then I can sit and sort of use my imagination a little bit. And it just develops from that point.
Okay. And are you doing that at home? I mean, is most of the recording at home these days?
Yeah. Okay. I've got an old carriage house, basically, from the 1800s that's in the back, and we fixed it up, and now that's my studio.
Oh, fantastic.
My little space.
So especially with 3 kids, I would have thought it can fit around the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah, you definitely need a place to escape. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, what about the rest of the album? You mentioned that we talked about the kind of like lyrical palette. Like you said, obviously that there are kind of fictional stories in there.
Yeah.
Can you give us some examples? Because we've got a little weight on it for fans out there.
Right. Well, there's a kind of a strange song that I wrote about. It's loosely based on a friend that I had in my 20s who was dating a girl who was super awesome but not very good for him.
Okay.
And so I kind of exaggerated the whole story to where she's manipulating him and making him kill people for her. And so like sort of Shakespearean sort of thing, and he ends up killing her in the end. So it's kooky things like that.
Oh man.
And then some personal things like this song, The Fear, that I hope to play in a little bit is sort of about anxiety and how you can kind of waste your life by worrying too much, I guess.
How much has your process changed over the years when it comes to songwriting? I mean, did you always do that? Did you always kind of take different approaches for different songs?
I didn't. I mean, I think early on, I really was trying to write from an earnest perspective, in part because that's exactly what wasn't happening. It was kind of the late 90s and everything was really sort of tongue-in-cheek and ironic and so on.
I remember that time. It was almost impossible to say you liked anything. You had to...
Quickly.
Yeah.
So it was good.
And you've worked with Zach Braff since then, right? And I think 2012 was maybe the last time that you did a soundtrack thing for him, or was it more recently than that?
It seems like, I think it was like 2014.
Okay.
Right. It was one of the songs that ends up on this record.
Oh, really? Okay, fantastic. Well, I knew that you'd done something else together more recently, but do you think that could kind of continue on?
If I get inspired by the film, I mean, I've been asked a few times, and I've had a chance to do that stuff. It's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. You just have to feel it. It was kind of scary, honestly, because he sent me the film, and he already had a soundtrack temped in,
Right.
And they were these wonderful songs, and you're like, so what? I'm supposed to beat like Bon Iver at his game? It's like, I don't know. But we found a spot.
Fantastic. Well, listen, it's great to have you here. We are going to have more music from you in a little bit, but now, James, thank you so much. My programme, delighted to have James Mercer still with me, playing a kind of stripped back set today, James, but you have got some live dates coming up, presumably with a full band and everything like that.
Yes, I'm not exactly sure of the dates, but we're playing the Hammersmith.
Yes, really. That's the UK date, the only one that we have so far. The Hammersmith Apollo, March the 29th.
Cool. I'm stoked. Yeah.
Have you started rehearsing yet? I mean, what's the plan for the tour?
We've done a couple little things. We did a radio show in the States and played 4 songs, and it went really well. We kind of broke things down to violin ensemble. We've got 3 violinists in the band now.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, and so but it's like the guitarist will switch to violin, so we can do some cool arrangements.
Oh, brilliant.
So I'm looking forward to the next year of touring.
And you talked about the synths and stuff already. How's that aspect integrated into the live show as well? I mean, presumably the dates have still got a little way to go, so it might not all be worked out, but
yeah, the what was the word you said? Synths?
The synths.
Oh, the synths, yeah. Yeah, that's going to be kind of a challenge, actually. I mean, some of the stuff I did, was using analog arpeggiators that are not very reliable, and so we're going to have to work on, I don't know what, some sort of backing track, or just get really good at playing those parts. I don't know.
You're going to make a plan. Yeah, there's still time.
We'll figure it out.
There's time, exactly.
Oh,
I don't want to press you too hard for the details. There's a while to go yet. And, only one UK show that we know about so far, but you say there's going to be a year of touring. Might you be back to...
Oh, yeah. We certainly, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, we'll spend the whole year kind of running around the world.
And I love the description that you gave of making this record and kind of, tinkering away at home and it being quite relaxed and experimental. Is approaching music live a completely different kind of vibe for you? Is it a chance to look at the songs a different way, look at music a different way?
Yeah, I mean, it's, in a way, I think there's times when you're not going to be able to do it exactly how it was on the record, and so you just look at it as if you're covering another band or something. Yeah, it is different. But it's enjoyable in a different way. The whole act of performances can be really rewarding and fun.
Of course.
I can get into it,
And a chance to go out and see people who've been loving your music for a really long time now. We've had so many messages today. Holly here just tweeting, loving the Shins in session. Hard to believe I've been in love with this band for 17 years. Still so fresh and important. I mean, do you ever kind of spot familiar faces in the crowd? They're pretty big crowds these days.
Yeah, once in a while. Yeah, there are people that have been there the whole time. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's crazy. I mean, I've been reflecting on it a little bit. It's 96 was when I really started, recording on a 4-track recorder in my bedroom as the Shins.
Yeah.
So it's 21 years now.
It's crazy, isn't it? Are you going to do any anniversary plans? Because I guess people kind of plan ahead for this stuff now. They think, well, we've got the 25th.
Where I'm not good.
We've got
planning ahead.
Right.
Yeah. So we kind of missed the 20th. Although Wincing the Night Away came out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a big record for us. So maybe we could do something for that.
That would be exciting. And what about Broken Bells? We mentioned your collaboration with Danger Mouse. Will you be picking up with that and doing more music together?
I think so. He's super busy, and I'm going to be busy for the next year. But we got together for like a week, just out of nowhere, just randomly. He had time, I had time, and we went down there and we wrote a song that we both kind of looked at each other. We were like, that's like the best thing we've done, right? So we're pretty. I think we're gonna do something. Yeah. We got to.
I hate asking musicians to describe a sound, but as that is just too exciting an answer. I'm gonna have to press you to
like
describe
what was the song like?
Or can you tell me any more about it? Like what was the vibe or?
It just had, I don't know what I could really say. It just had both a melancholy but sort of poppy feel to it. It was just kind of, we were both just like, man, that kind of sounds like it could be a good one. So.
Oh, man. Okay, well, good. That exists somewhere in the ether. That's good news.
It's waiting, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that will do for now. James, we'd love one more track from you before we let you go today. What's it going to be?
This is called The Fear.
Over to you.
Freedom rings, he squanders was the deal? What am I blind? What took me this long? Can't we hit rewind on somebody's magic bomb? Oh, come back and touch my face. Feel for fever in the night. You look into my eyes, but you don't really recognize me anymore. Past another pointless year, foaming at the mouth. I, with my hands ever up, and you're stretching out. I know I've run out of luck, but this fear is a terrible drug. If I'd only had sense enough to let it give away to love, come back and touch my face. Feel for fever in the night. As you look into my eyes, you don't really recognize me anymore. No, not anymore. Not anymore.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, James. The new album from the Shins, Heartworms, out on the 10th of March. Can't wait for it to be out there. Thank you very much for coming to tell us about it today.
Thank you.
Cheers.